Once again, fellow glue huffing hobby heroes, I'm back with another video. This isn't going to be a tutorial. This is the exploding Jagdpanzer, actually. It's a Panzer IV, not a Panther. I initially wasn't going to do a video of this because on my channel I'm just trying to do videos of stuff that I haven't seen on the YouTube as of yet. Just to keep like a wider breadth of content out there. Not to say that it isn't great to look at people doing the same thing different ways, but you know, that's just gonna be my thing. However, if I make something and someone says, hey, it would be great to see a tutorial or video on how to do that, then for sure I'll do it. So this isn't gonna be like a step-by-step tutorial, but my little blown up tank killer comes apart so that I can service like the little LED light and battery in it. So I can show you with the finished product sort of what I did. And for sure out there, you know, I got my ideas just from looking on YouTube. I typed in, you know, LED explosions and got lots of great videos. So there's already lots of great content out there. And that was sort of my decision not to make like a step-by-step tutorial, because you know, it slows you down significantly once you start filming, and I'm pretty bloody bad at it too, so that just makes matters worse. So without further ado, let's get onto this thing and see how it was made. Here we go. I'm gonna try my best to keep this bloody thing under the camera. Forgive me if I don't. My God, I screw it up all the time. It's kind of hard because you're looking at what you're working on and then not paying attention to the camera, and all of a sudden you got an issue. But I also don't want to destroy these things inadvertently by not paying attention to what I've got in my hands here. So this is the Jagdpanzer IV destroyed version. This is the Normandy Miniature models that came out a few years ago. Since then, Flames of War has come out with a 72 scale kit too. The kit has a few issues in terms of like dimensions. It's a little bit wonky, it's a little bit deformed, but you know, it looks pretty good painted up, or at least I think so. At least my opponent knows it's a bloody Jagdpanzer IV. God. Anyway, here we go. And so yeah, I have 4 of them for my platoon. I had a spare one from the kit, so I thought I would just make this destroyed tank. And me and my buddy, when we play this, what we do is we use destroyed tanks. So if I have an army and I have Jagdpanzer IVs and I give my opponent a smashed Jagdpanzer IV, he has to place it in an area that's within line of sight of one of his anti-tank guns. So it doesn't really entirely give up the anti-tank gun, but it's a bit of a warning to me that you know, there may be an anti-tank gun in the area. And if he's like, I have no hidden handy tank weapons, then I can use this and place it wherever I want to on the board, maybe to block line of sight or to provide some cover, make a roadblock, whatever. It's just like a fun extra thing that you can use to your benefit, but it also looks great and it looks fairly legit when your war game table actually looks like a war is going on and there's destroyed vehicles and mayhem everywhere. I mean, sometimes, you know, it kind of strikes me that we've turned this major devastating conflict into a miniature game. So this kind of brings you back to the reality that maybe it wasn't so fun. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to this thing. So it just sits loose on the base, and the reason why is because this little tea light candle I bought online. They came from China. There was 12 in a box. Only 3 of the 12 actually work, but I think it might be because of the batteries. It tends to go out, and it's something to do with the wire connection. So I wanted to be able to get into it so that I could fix the connection. But what I did to achieve this is I cut the candle apart. Actually, I'm going to pause here for a second and just get a candle. I should have brought one of them out, but I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, I'm back. So these are the candles you can buy. I think you can buy these in dollar stores around most of the world. It's just a little cheap, made in China, tea light candle. You turn it on and it actually looks like flame. To make the flame a little, I wanted it, when I looked at pictures of exploding, well, like explosions and burning tanks, the flames are quite orangey and red, so I added some Tamiya clear red to the actual light. So you take one of these apart, and maybe I can do that here. I'm going to move this out of the way so I don't crush it. Maybe I can show you that here. I'm sure you can all imagine what it's like to take a light apart, but let's see, just grab something. But yeah, see, it's just that easy. You just pull it apart and there it is. And so, yeah, the reason why I left the tank loose on the base is because the switch isn't, it doesn't sit flat, so sometimes the connection comes off. See, I pushed it up and it came off, and it for sure is going to get pushed in. So that's why I left it open. I tried to make a barrier to keep this switch from popping up, but if that happens, and it could be that, the candles that I got in my box of 12 that don't work, exactly that is happening internally. So yeah, so you have to fiddle with it a bit. You could probably buy better LED lights, but you can't go wrong with something that literally costs under $1, right? To make a really cool marker. So I cut this out, I broke this apart, and then I took, this is a piece of aluminum sheet, and again, I scored a hole in it roughly the size. It gives me enough room to change the battery. You can see here, there's the little tab to open it for the battery. I just drew or scribed a circle in using a circle template, and I used my trusty jeweler saw. I think I showed you some jeweler sawing when I was making barbed wire. If you want to get a jeweler saw and use a jeweler saw, because this is exactly the good, like, look at how well the circle cut out. Like, it's pretty awesome just with your hand. I did use a file to smooth out the curvature of the circle, but not that much. I didn't spend a lot of time filing, and you can cut out very intricate shapes with it. So if you're interested in cutting out plate or bases or something in ununiform kind of flowing shapes, or even if you want to do straight cuts, jeweler saw is the way to go. And I would just recommend, again, going on YouTube and how to use a jeweler saw and watch someone's tutorial on that. There's a few principles to master, but once you get it, after a few bad words and a couple beers, you'll be ready to go. So I cut out my hole, and then I filed off all the little tabs on the bottom so that just the switch was showing, and you can see the switch down here. And so yeah, the candle was in place, and then to fill in, so there's quite a depth here. I had to sort of make up for the depth up to the white shelf here. So I just placed pieces of cork around, like old cork placemat. You can get those cork placemats at IKEA, just as a way to fill the area. And then I used just whatever you use for groundwork. I use my mixture. I think I've shown you in some of my previous videos. It's like acrylic gel and some sand and some celluclay and little ballast model railroad stuff. It's not important. Whatever you're using for your bases, you can just use for this. And I added some extra decorative rocks, and there's a Peter Pig casualty there. And so we had that. And then with the tank, it was just a matter of drilling out the bottom so that the light can pop up through. And I sprayed it black in there. Now, well, why don't I hold it under the camera? Sorry. Yeah, I sprayed it black under there. And the one thing I would say though, if you want to get more light coming on the inside of the tank, make sure your hole is like tighter around the light. I think a lot of my light escapes through the hole, so it's just not that bright. So when I went to make the flames, I tried, you know, when I looked online, guys were using like fiber optics and making some pretty impressive flames, and I tried to do that, but my light just wasn't powerful enough. It was carrying up the clear acrylic posts I put inside, but it wasn't bright enough, so it just looks like some, you know, spray painted cotton. You know, it didn't look very good. It looked good with all the lights off, but I wanted it to look good in just regular light. Like right now it's under a spotlight, but I'll turn it on in a couple minutes and show you what it looks like in non-spotlight light. So yeah, that would be my, if I were doing it again, or if you're about to make one, my advice would be if you want to get more light coming up, then make sure that hole is tighter, or you could create some kind of a barrier. Again, I didn't bother because I knew I was going to have to take this on and off, potentially to service the mechanism of the light. So yeah, I tried I think 4 different cotton flames and used my airbrush to color them with more of the Tamiya red clear, which worked really well. But like I said, I just wasn't getting enough light coming through. So, you know, at some point I just stuffed some straight up cotton in there, and I thought, well, that looks pretty good. I'll just do that. That was, you know, I wish I had just done that in the beginning. That was so fast and easy, and not cleaning the airbrush multiple times because the flames had red, yellow, and black. You know, it was a big airbrushing job really for me. So, so there's that. So what I'll do is I'm gonna turn this thing on. You can see my light, and it's got red Tamiya paint, and I'm gonna jam this in, and it just fits. I pressed the tank down into, the tracks were made out of just green stuff, so I pressed the tank into green stuff, and we might not be seeing the flames too much in this light. I can see it a bit. I think you can see it a bit, but let's turn the light off and then go, ooh. See? So that's, it's a little dark here because it's winter and it's probably what, like 3:15 in the afternoon. But you know, on a gray day, this is typically the lighting in here, and so this is what this was going to look like on the table as it's just sitting there. So it looks pretty good. It looks pretty legit. It's just bloody cool. It's one of those things that makes this hobby kind of fun. And it flickers, so sometimes you get brighter than others. And so yeah, basically that's how it's done.
This is a private moment. Get out of here, wanker. The video is over. Go home.